Hello and welcome to Quarterlight, your car brochure channel. In today's episode we're continuing our look at this 1984 Austin Rover catalogue. We're now up to the flagship model, the SD1. Hello and welcome back to Quarterlight, and in fact if you're new to Quarterlight, what we are is a car brochure channel here on YouTube, looking at car brochures from around the world for the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s and sometimes beyond that as well. So if you're interested in car brochures, car facts, and most importantly memories really, looking back at cars we remember, please consider subscribing. Anyway, yes, we were looking at this 1984 brochure for Austin Rover. We've come to the end now. So that can only mean one thing, the flagship model, the SD1, and it's quite a big range at this time, so we better get on with it. Let's throw that on the board now. So there we go, today's brochure. Last week we looked at the Rover 200 series, now we're up to the flagship model, the SD1. Now, we were talking about subscribing, and I would like to thank everyone who has subscribed. A few people recently have subscribed, so welcome to those people. If you are considering subscribing, it is completely free actually. I know a few people still think it costs money to subscribe. No, it is completely free, so don't worry about that. Click on that subscribe button, keeps you in touch with the channel. Anyway, like I say, the big Rover. Let's zoom in there now. So at the top here, this is where it would normally have the name of the car. Like I say, last week it said Rover 200. Here it just says Rover. More power, more breeding, because SD1 wasn't really a name given to it, really. It was more of a code name. They never actually marketed it as the SD1, so almost a bit unnamed in some ways, just the Rover. And in some ways that makes it even more confusing when the previous model was the Rover 200. And there was that worry about watering down the Rover name by making this small Rover, the Rover 200. And in some ways I still think it's a bit controversial even today. I should let that go really, but I kind of think that should have been a triumph. But anyway, moving down, the main car featured on this main page is the lovely Vanden Plas. But this is quite a big range at this time, so we should get on with it. So let's see how that range starts. So the range starts here with the Rover 2000 and the Rover 2300. So let's see how it introduces these lower models. Okay, so it tells us the Rover 5-door Prestige begins at the highest level with the 2000 model, identified by the full stainless steel wheel covers and bright bumper cappings. This popular 2-litre executive saloon has a kind of interior opulence once associated with only the most expensive executive cars. Outside, the tone is set by the new steel sliding sunroof, inside by the plain velvet trim sets and walnut veneer door trim inserts. An impressive list of equipment which includes programmed rear wash wipe and digital clock, stopwatch, electric windows and a central console. Cassette box is now extended still further with the addition of a 2-band electronic radio stereo cassette player with rear speakers and balance control, a programmed windscreen wash wipe facility and electric adjustment and demist for door mirrors. Powered by a high efficiency 100 bhp alloy head 4-cylinder twin carburetor engine, the 2000 has a 5-speed gearbox with its high ratio 5th speed for quiet, effortless and economical motorway cruising. Power assisted rack and pinion steering gives fingertip precision of control, while the wide track long wheelbase stance of the car confers impressive grip and stability. Then it moves on to the next model, the Rover 2300. The Rover 2300 has the same high level of equipment and appointments as the 2000, but the 6-cylinder 2300 model has enhanced performance characteristics, which stem from the smooth running 2.3 litre overhead camshaft engine, which develops 118 bhp and is coupled to the 5-speed transmission. Enjoying the same comprehensive range of features as the 2000, the 2300 has in addition an oil level warning light. This car has always been a particular favourite amongst discerning private and business users, and it now surely offers the very best value in its class. And it talks about the optional extras in recognition of the specialised needs and tastes of Rover customers. An extensive range of optional extras is available for both the 2000 and the 2300. So we can option it with alloy wheels, auto transmission, metallic or black paint, front fog lamps, headlamp power wash, rear seat belts, leather upholstery, electric steel sunroof, electronic stereo radio cassette player with 4 speakers, trip computer, and then it goes on with the waffle. You know, you can tail it how you want, which is always a strange thing to me, all these optional extras you can put on. I always thought it makes sense just to move to the next model, particularly on the second hand market. You lose a lot more if you get a lovely model than just add lots of things on. Anyway, but that's just my view. But let's have a look at some of the images. Here is this lovely base model 2000. Let's just zoom in on the rear and we can have a look how it's badged there, just simply Rover 2000. Always loved the rear lights actually on these, very interesting. Nice hatchback, or executive car that was practical with a hatchback, which possibly even at this time was a little bit more unusual. You know, executive cars were more familiar to have a trunk or boot. But here it is in a much more practical, although you notice that the lip is exceptionally high to lift things in the back. Glimpse at the wheels, although a little bit of reflection there unfortunately. But overall, even on this lowly spec 2000 model, still an interesting looking car, interesting design. Of course these would have been sort of like Series 2 versions. A look at the dash, and they kind of like smarten the dash up a little bit. You find on the earlier ones these were like little round little pods. They certainly look a little bit nicer actually on these later ones, and of course the big thing with these later ones were the build quality was a lot better than the very early ones. Certainly the build quality was below average, to be kind. But I think they got better with time. But still that same sort of dash design where you could switch it easier from right to left hand drive. This was cleverly placed so you could put your steering wheel here to swap them over, and then 2 sort of glove boxes, and of course kind of like slide this over sort of thing. So it made it very easy. So a very clever design in that way, which was kept for these later versions as well. And a look at the interior there, bit of wood even on these base model versions, so even the base model still felt a little bit special. Rear wash wipe, of course. Looks like we've got a very large unswept area on this. I don't know if it would be as bad in real life. Again, I'm sure Hubnut would not be that impressed with that wiper performance. And then at the top here we've got a look at these quite chunky electric window switches. Moving up the range, next one up at this time was the S. So 2300S, 2600S, and we've been joined with a diesel version as well, a 2400 SD. Quite an interesting addition. Anyway, let's read the text, learn a bit more about it, come back to the images. So alloy wheels are the main thing you get for the S, so I think it was worth just moving up to the S rather than adding alloy wheels on the lower version, in my view anyway. But it says alloy road wheels and elegant course lines are the hallmark of the 3 attractive S-level Rover models. Inside there is plush new shadow stripe and plain velvet trim seats, durable yet stylish, complement the burr walnut veneer door trims. Also new is the electric steel sliding sunroof and the 3-band electronic stereo radio cassette player. These new features enhanced what is already a very full specification indeed, including electronically adjusted and demist door mirrors and a standard fit auto transmission. 5-speed manual can be had at no cost option. With their moulded aerodynamic spoilers, the three models look similar, yet they have distinctive different mechanical specifications. To meet a wide range of requirements, the 2300S has the same 2.3 litre 6-cylinder 118 bhp unit used on the 2300, and the result is a sweet running, lively car that makes even long distance a positive pleasure. The longer stroke 2.6 litre version, generating 130 bhp, gives the 2600S an even more silken performance. Those towing caravans or other trailers, or who may want to make maximum use of Rover's substantial cargo space facility, will appreciate the ingenious self-levelling rear suspension design, which is fitted on the 2400 SD and all 2600 and 3500 models. Using damper absorbing energy, it maintains normal ride height under full load. An extra dimension to the Rover range comes from the Rover 2400 SD Turbo, a response to the increased popularity of diesel power. This car has 90 bhp available from a turbocharged 2.4 litre diesel engine, providing a combination of performance and economy, which is unusual in such a large and luxurious saloon. Figures of 46.7 mpg at 56 miles per hour and 30.2 mpg on the urban cycle demonstrate the 2400 SD's frugality. More important, at least for those who wish to travel fast and economically, is that even at 100 miles per hour cruising on the continent, the miles per gallon figure remains in the mid-20s. A specially geared 5-speed manual transmission maximises the benefits of the diesel. A lower rear axle ratio is provided for lively step-off and hill climbing, but the extra large 5th gear ensures that delightfully relaxed cruising capability, which is central to the Rover concept. Then it goes on about optional extras, so metallic or black paint, front fog lamps, power headlamp wash, rear seat belts, leather upholstery and a trip computer. The 2600S has the additional option of aircon. So the images, we get another rather lovely glimpse into that Rover cockpit. Moving down, glimpse at the in-car entertainment and sort of like the heater cooling controls, seats and the burr walnut, and the luggage compartment with the rear seats folded flat, and then the main image, and that opaline blue metallic really suits it actually, and as does those rather lovely alloy wheels. And then a glimpse at the rear and a bit of a look at that unusual Rover badge is placed. Moving on still further, we start getting to be the quite fancy models. This is the Rover 2600 and 3500 Vanden Plas, so expect rather lovely seats. Anyway, let's learn about this one. So it tells us both these Vanden Plas models are superlative cars in every respect. They are identified by such features as distinctive machine finished alloy wheels, front overrider housings, headlamp power wash, twin halogen front fog lamps, and of course the Vanden Plas script rear badging. Inside, the sumptuous box and plain velvet trim seats are totally in keeping with the Vanden Plas philosophy of exceptional quality. There are matte pockets behind the front seats, and the rear head restraints match those at the front. On the fascia, you'll find traditional burr walnut echoing the door trim inserts. The extensive equipment includes a new 3-band electronic stereo radio, stereo cassette with 4 speakers, as well as a multi-function trip computer, rear seat belts, rear cigar lighter and ashtray, courtesy lamp delay and rear reading lamps. Add these to the normal high specification of a Rover and you realise that these new Vanden Plas models are in a class of their own. Goes on to tell us both models are equipped with auto transmission, but you can have a 5-speed option for no extra cost if you want. Then goes on to tell us, so whether you choose the 130 bhp 6-cylinder 2600 Vanden Plas or the 3500 Vanden Plas with its turbine-like all-aluminium V8 engine, which effortlessly develops 155 bhp, you are assured the finest quality of driving enjoyment. Optional extras. First starts off telling us, well, with such high equipment there isn't much, but then it says you can have air conditioning, metallic or black finish, leather upholstery and cruise control. In-car entertainment, sunroof, heated mirrors, I'm assuming this is trying to demonstrate, headlamp wash, that lovely interior, in this case in red, and the main image of the Vanden Plas. So a different sort of like a two-tone style alloy wheel in this case. Looks like this one is, I think it says 2600, doesn't it? Yeah, this one is the 2600. I do prefer the look of them actually when they've got the headlamp wash and those front fog lamps. I think it does look really nice. And also this is a nice sort of glimpse to look how they changed it for more like the later Series 2 versions. We've now got more of a flush fitting headlamp on there. And also we get a little bit of like a bright work around the lights there as well. And of course this more modern looking sort of wraparound bumper style. I'll just show you the older version just to remind you. Looking at the earlier Series 1s, this again is a 3500. You can see that sort of like different sort of 3-piece style bumper. And of course these lights being more recessed in there. You could go still further though and get a Vitesse, so let's have a look at that one. The latest version of this charismatic race-bred sporting saloon looks different at a glance. Now there is new highly aerodynamic front spoiler proven on the track to reduce front end lift at speed, and it's balanced by the paint treatment on the lower sills. These features plus the new Vanden Plas body side moulding complement and enhance the already ultra sleek look of the Vitesse with its lowered suspension and large rear spoiler, and those broad shouldered low profile tyres on special alloy wheels are not just for show, they contribute to that taut, precise, predictable handling for which the Vitesse is famous. Naturally, with the terrific punch of the 190 bhp fuel injected 3.5 litre V8 under the bonnet and a potential of 135 miles per hour, something special is required in the way of brakes. The Vitesse has something special. Ventilated front discs with 4 piston calipers and dual hydraulic feeds to each caliper. In manual 5-speed form, the Vitesse will accelerate to 60 miles per hour in just over 7 seconds. So even by today's standards, that's pretty quick for a big car. Inside the Vitesse there is, as you would expect, a distinctive sporting flavour to the trim, with sculptured velvet central panels and plain velvet borders. A high level of equipment emphasises the Vitesse's role as a luxury grand touring machine, encompassing such features as a trip computer, a 3-band electronic stereo, radio, stereo cassette player with 4 speakers of course, zone tinted windscreen headlamp power washers, front and rear cigar lighters, and all the usual top class Rover refinements. In Rover's book, race bred does not involve any compromise of comfort and furnishing. The Vitesse is exhilarating certainly, but it also cosets. With luxury, it is totally practical, business or family vehicle. So it talks about optional extras. It says what is there to add. It tells us only air conditioning and cruise remain extra choices. You've also got choices of black paint, metallic paint finishes and auto transmission, but it tells us rather nicely you don't have to pay any more for those. I think this is probably the best picture actually to demonstrate how they actually updated that sort of binnacle to make it look a lot more modern. You can certainly see on this image that it had like glass in front of it, where before it was more of a recessed look, and we'll have another little look at that in a moment. But it was also flatter and longer than the original, and they moved the gauges around to make a bit more sense. Let's just have a quick look at the earlier Series 1 gauges again. There's a little bit of a look at on the 3500 and another glimpse at some of those gauges on there. So certainly they updated that to actually look a little bit nicer actually, although in some ways I like this look as well. Look at the seats of the Vitesse, and then the side-on image, it does look good. We've got a bit of a wing on the back which actually looks quite nice. My favourite alloys, I must admit, I think overall I prefer the Vanden Plas, but they are my favourite alloys for these cars. At the front end as well. I think in some ways this really emphasises what I think about the modern Rover, and how these older Rovers actually look more futuristic than what Rover ended up being. Particularly in Vitesse, guys, this is still appealing to a younger audience, I think, where the modern Rovers really didn't, and I think that was one of the failings. But I think it's emphasised even more on the Vitesse because it does look very sporting and could appeal to a wider audience, I think. I think from here on in, Rover for me started becoming a more of an older person's car, I think. Anyway, there is more models in this range, so let's look at the next model as well. So surprisingly, there is one more model in the range, the flagship model. You think the Vitesse is the flagship model, but no. It's this, the Rover Vanden Plas EFi. It's kind of like a combination really between a Vitesse and a Vanden Plas. Certainly the model you probably really wanted of all of them. However, obviously Vitesse and the Vanden Plas EFi are really big money. Anyway, let's have a look at the text and learn a bit more about it. It takes a truly impressive car to be the flagship of the new Rover range. With so many superlative cars in the family, how can the flagship model achieve such levels of luxury and performance that it can be justifiably be called the ultimate Rover? The answer lies in the stunning specification of the new Vanden Plas EFi, richly appointed in true Vanden Plas style, with walnut veneers and sensuous leather upholstery, and equipped with every requisite of the most demanding owner. The Vanden Plas EFi, as its name infers, has electronic fuel injection for its 3.5 litre 8-cylinder engine. The result is an electrifying 190 bhp delivered with total smoothness and efficiency. Automatic transmission completes this superb magic carpet drivetrain, providing silken flexibility with instant responsiveness. Distinguished externally from the 3500 Vanden Plas by the rear EFI badge and the special 15-inch alloy wheels with low profile tyres. The fuel injected model has ventilated front disc brakes to match its rapid performance, and so utterly complete is the equipment of this masterpiece that there is only one optional extra: air conditioning. You'd think they'd put that on as well, wouldn't you really? But anyway. However, you may take for granted cruise control as well as a new free-band electronic stereo, radio, stereo cassette player with 4 speakers. The sunroof powers back at a touch of a switch, and there are detachable pads on all 4 head restraints. Passengers can sink their feet into luxury of shag pile footwell mats fitted over the high-grade carpet, while there are mat pockets behind the front seats for tidy storage. In all of Rover's proud history, there has never been a more satisfying blend of sheer luxury and potent performance than that offered by the latest Vanden Plas EFi. Driving it is a heady experience, ownership an enduring pleasure, the ultimate example of the power of good breeding apparently. That lovely interior, and indeed lovely seats with those extra pads on all the headrests. In-car entertainment of course. And then this example in black, which would have been a no-cost option for the Vanden Plas EFi. So moving to the colour chart, all these colours were available apart from Primula Yellow, so you could get Aran White, Champagne Beige. That's your Primula Yellow, but not available for your SD1, although it could have looked quite interesting in that colour actually. We could get Targa Red, Clove Brown, Eclipse Blue. Moving down to the more modern of Silver Leaf Metallic, Cashmere Gold Metallic, a Porto Red Metallic, and then my favourite colours for the Austin Rover range at the time, Opaline Green Metallic, Zircon Blue Metallic, and then that new colour Moonraker Blue Metallic. Interesting though, it does show us that the Vitesse model has got a more limited colour palette to the rest of the range. So the colours for the Vitesse would be Targa Red, Black, which it just doesn't show, Silver Leaf Metallic, and also that new colour of Moonraker Blue Metallic, which it really doesn't show very well on this colour chart. Now all them Vitesse colours would have all been standard equipment, so you could get any of those, including black and the metallics, at no extra cost for the Vitesse. So these big Rovers really out of the price range for most people. We'll look at the prices what they were when new, but second hand you could pick them up very cheap actually. So the Rover 2000 was £8,495.34. So interesting that base model Rover was actually cheaper than a Montego Vanden Plas. I think if I had that money I would have gone for the Rover 2000 rather than Montego Vanden Plas, just for the looks alone. Moving down the range to the 3500 Vanden Plas, which was £13,780.16, so that price shot up pretty quick. And then the Vitesse was £15,464.53, and then the 3500 Vanden Plas EFi was £15,774 and change, which was an awful lot of money for 1984. But like I say, heavy depreciation, because still people was really worried about the build quality, which still wasn't fantastic, the reliability, but certainly better than the early cars. So a nice cheap motor in the second-hand market, and I think that's where the market really was for if you wanted something interesting anyway and you weren't too worried about it breaking down. But I don't know, I don't think they was as bad as what the people make them out to be. Certainly they were better than the initial models, that's for sure. So that does bring us to the end of this particular episode for the Rover SD1, and indeed this Austin Rover brochure for the end of 1984, so the 1985 model year. Interesting though, I was flicking through to the end and there's this little image on towing, so some nice images there of the Montego towing, and I think they made quite good towing cars. A more unusual towing car though is this MG towing a couple of what it describes as wet bags. I've not really seen that sort of design. Very unusual design for a skidoo, but obviously that's a trade name. But a wet bike, 2 wet bikes being towed by an MG. Interesting, wet bikes supplied courtesy of Wet Bike, Centurion Garage, Dunholm in Lincoln. Wonder what, are they still around? I'm sure they probably aren't. I certainly don't recognise these unusual ones. Anyway, like I say, an unusual tow car. We also get this lovely image of one of the SD1s towing a caravan, an actual number plate, so an actual registered example. Wonder if someone wants to check if that car is still around. I'm sure it isn't, but an interesting image nonetheless of it towing this swift caravan. But that does bring us to the end of this brochure. This is where your dealer stamp would normally be. It's publication number 3627B, October, November, December 1984. So there we go, the Rover SD1. If you've got any memories of these SD1s, please do jot it in the comments. Always very interesting to read. And indeed, tell me which is your favourite model of the range. Indeed, what was your favourite model in this full catalogue? Tell me which was your best one there. Always interesting to read your comments. Appreciate every single one. But as always, we'll end by saying thank you so much for watching today. And if you've not done it already, please do consider subscribing. It is all completely free. I've also added a couple of boxes there for other episodes in case you're interested in continuing watching it. One of the boxes will be for this complete series for this brochure in case you've missed any of the other episodes. But thank you for watching today. Please do take care and goodbye.